Peter as well. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am super excited today for my guest. I am with Miss Kate Bailey, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce her and then have her introduce herself. And we are going to talk all about playing a bigger game and really getting to step into living a legendary life. So Kate Bailey is a transformational and intuitive coach. She's an entrepreneur and a disruptor and facilitator of social change among women who believe that a woman about to take a legendary leap to reclaim her life on her terms deserves emergency attention and that women should never have to play big alone. So this is really getting into sisterhood, community, and nurturing that bigger part of ourselves. And Kate first realized that coaching was her calling when she was working as an EMS instructor at the New York City Fire Department. And she resigned from the department to start her coaching community. And the community is called Women 911. And even though Kate has resigned from the service, she still runs her unofficial organization, the FDNY Sisters, which has about 700 women dedicated to changing the way women in service value themselves and each other in sisterhood. In her time during service, Kate worked as an instructor and a hazardous materials EMT, which deals with events like gas spills, mass casualty incidents. Ebola and COVID has served over 10,000 New Yorkers during their most emergent moments. So now that her coaching courses and coaching community at Women 911, Kate provides tools, resources, programs, and deep intentional sisterhood to help women turn on, play big, and align into their highest selves so that they can put themselves into their power and create a legendary life on their terms. Whoa! All right. I love that so much. It's so fun. And so, Kate, we met through kind of through like Mama Gina and Julia Wells community, which is all about sisterhood and pleasure and really being in that collaborative, turning on, rising the fuck up together. So I would love to hear from you, your journey and how you really got to where you are now and why, and talking all things playing big and living a legendary life. And we're going to break that down for people as well. But I'd love to hear from you really what guided you into this and your passion for it.
Yeah, so I started getting the idea to get into this work while I was working at the fire department. I was one of those women who is like super independent. I can do it all myself. And that was my idea of like what it meant to be strong, is to take on everything yourself, do it alone, just like not tell anybody how you really feel. And I was miserable. Like I went through a couple of things. I think that really started to push me in the direction of being like more real with myself and more authentic with people about where I was at. While I was at the fire department, I was pregnant. I miscarried while I was on the job, and I felt like really alone. Of course, they have support systems in place, like a counseling services unit, and there is a sisterhood there, but like, women just have so much conditioning that if we want to hang in organizations or companies that are predominantly male and have all these like male infrastructures, that we value a men's way of working much more than women. And it's not to say that there aren't assets to both ways of working, but women can be much more communicative, collaborative. We have a wider emotional range. And I noticed that like everything that I was going through, I didn't feel like it was okay to talk to everybody else about it, because we have this conditioning to suffer in silence. We have this conditioning that there's something wrong with you if you experience a miscarriage. And then we have all the good girl conditioning on top of that, which is to just acquiesce and do what everybody says you should be doing. And all the while, I was thinking to myself, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right that like, I feel like I can't talk about these things. It doesn't feel right that it's shocking to tell people where I'm really at and what I'm really going through. And there's also a lot of like stigma around mental health issues. And, having a miscarriage, so much changes. Your body changes. You can experience depression, which I definitely experienced. And it was while I was there that I went to Mama Gina's events in the School of Womanly Arts. And I started piecing together really for the first time what it meant to have deeper, more intentional sisterhood. And that authentic strength meant not doing it alone. It meant vulnerability. It meant the courage to be your true self and to really start to align with what feels right for you. So I'm like, let me put my phone on airplane mode before it calls through my computer. So I was at the fire department and I was like, you know what? Life is short. My husband and I, we had a conversation and we were like, we could either stay here another 15 years or we could really like put our money where our mouth is and live life on our terms now. And we had a long discussion, a long crucial conversation about what that looks like. And it included being in a place where there was better weather, it being closer to the beach, being closer to family. He has a lot of family down here too. And I just started 1-degree shifts at a time, making the shift in the direction that I really wanted to go in and to change all the elements of my life that really I had thought that I wanted, but I didn't really want them for myself. I wanted them because I was trained by society to want them, right? To want a 9-to-5, to want a stable blue collar job, to want health benefits, to want a 401k. And I kind of woke up to the lie that I was living, that this is the only way to do it. I realized that's a lie. There's another way to live, and thousands, millions of people do it on a daily basis, but it wasn't anything that I had been exposed to. So I threw myself into conferences and books and in front of women who are actually doing this work. And I learned what it takes to create sisterhood and to really step into purpose and authenticity. And it has its ups and downs. Not everything's perfect, but it feels more aligned. I feel healthier. I feel happier. And it's like, yeah, why wouldn't women choose this,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is something that I've seen you talk about online, and something that I think is so needs to be talked about. And I want to bring it up here is I'd love for you to share your experience too, because I know this is so real for other women and people don't talk about it because we've been taught to, like you just said, like you don't talk about the hard things or the real things because it's heavy or depressing or, like makes other people feel a certain way just socially. But I know that you have experienced this and I've experienced this, and this is a core of what you work with on women is when on paper, everything looks really great and they have the, corporate job and all the checklist boxes, but they still feel like shit, right? When they just have this, like, I did all the things I thought I was supposed to do, that I was told to do, but I'm not in alignment. I'm not happy. And I would love, because that's such a big part of us playing a bigger game and living a legendary life, is to break out of that and to break free from that. And I know that's really near and dear to you, of your journey too. And I would love to hear more of your thoughts about that.
Yeah. So that's the thing that bothered me the most. So for those of you who don't know my story, I didn't realize I had a learning disability until I was an adult. And it prevented me from taking the traditional route several times, but I was very resourceful. I think that's what made me such a good EMT too. I was very resourceful. So there were times where I reinvented myself and I got exactly what I thought I needed. I had the job working in corporate. I had my own private office on the 65th floor of the Chrysler building. I was working for a hedge fund company. We invested in oil and gas and commercial real estate. And with all my perks and benefits, I was taking home close to 6 figures. I had my own Mercedes S550. I had the best insurance plan. Oh my God, Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, Acupuncture was covered totally. Anything I needed was covered. I was eating at places in Manhattan like the Water Club, and everything was free. And I was still fucking miserable. Oh, can I say that?
Yes.
Can I
Yes.
swear? Can I
Yes,
swear
you
like a
can.
trucker? And I was still miserable. So it's like, what the heck? So you put so much effort into doing what you think you're supposed to do. Like, so I had this shiny corporate job making close to six figures. And at one point I worked for MTV. I had the cool job, like I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. Like that was a cool job. I got to go on tour with Nickelodeon. I did some really cool stuff and I still wasn't happy. So I was like, what is going on? Like, all this effort, all this time, all this training is going into pivoting careers, and I'm still not happy. So, if something is going wrong over and over again and there's a pattern, the problem isn't the outside world, the problem is you, And my problem was I was calibrating to what everybody else's standards for happiness were instead of calibrating to what it meant for me to be happy, for me to be in my purpose, for me to be turned on and lit up. And I remember the moment that I really understood that the problem was me, because I was like scrolling through my social media at the time, and every single picture that I had was like a picture of me. And I was like super sad. It was super dark. There was nobody else in the picture with me. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, I had this bird's eye view of my life all of a sudden, and everything, it wasn't what it seemed. I was really sad. I was depressed. It wasn't what I wanted. And I took a step back. I took some major inventory, and I literally started to redesign and recreate my life on my terms. And I didn't know what my terms were at first. I didn't have clarity around what made me happy, what kind of relationships I wanted, what my purpose was. And when we don't take that time to figure that out, we get into these situations where we're depressed, we're out of alignment, like even with sisterhood. Like I didn't, again, I was the lone wolf. I was the independent female. I didn't know what sisterhood looked like. So I had no standards for sisterhood at first either. I had no standards for my romantic relationships, my work, employer, employee relationships. And I just kept doing what I thought I should be doing, and I wasn't happy.
Mm-hmm. And I think all of us have been at that point somewhere along the way where it's really ingrained in our society, right? For us to like just go to college and have the white picket fence and like da 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 and do the thing. And when we wake up to that, it can feel really scary and painful to like be like, oh shit, I have to change. Like there's a lot of things that need to change here. So in that process, I'd love to it's like a perfect segue to move into what it means to play big and really breaking that down. Because I think sometimes when women hear something like that, they're like, oh, it's just more work I have to do, or, it can seem intimidating, but really what it means for you and how you work with women on getting them to play a bigger game and live their legendary life.
Yeah. So playing big looks different for everyone, but especially with women, you talked about like societal standards before. A lot of standards in society are, it's a man's world. Let's be real, right? Most of the people in power are men. Most of our systems and support and resources that are set up are for men. And I love men, but like, the way society is right now wasn't really designed for us as women. So playing big for me at first means recognizing that if you're a woman and you have a woman's style of working, you can value that, and that's okay. Right? So valuing where you are as a woman, valuing your assets as a woman, and then having your own back in what your standards are. Now, playing big could be having an impact-driven business. It could be having better relationships, like really meeting your soulmate. It could be just really shifting the way that you work, because again, we're taught like in a more patriarchal culture to hustle and grind and hustle and grind. And a women's way of working, we can hustle, but we also have amazing, intuitive, sensory gifts that are just as valuable, if not more valuable, when problem solving and creating solutions. And when we start to value that, that's playing a bigger game, right? So valuing ease and intuition and flow over hustling and grinding. And it's also valuing things like self-care over perfectionism, right? Going with the flow instead of over planning. I mean, you can take risks as a woman and you can trust yourself as a woman, but society has really done a number on us to condition us to believe that we can't trust ourselves to make those decisions. And we see it every day because there are billions and billions and billions of dollars that go into making you feel like you can't trust yourself as a woman, making you feel like you're not enough, or you're too much, or you're too this, you're too that, you have dreams too big, right? But the reason why so much money goes into that is because when you feel insecure, when you feel not enough, you buy. Yep. You buy a lot. You buy a lot of crap, right? So it serves the economy for women to devalue themselves. So playing big is literally getting the bigger picture, zooming out and saying, okay, does this really work for me? And what do I want? And what's my purpose? And what's my role in life? And defining that for you on your terms.
That's so important because I feel like there's, obviously in my group and your community, women are coming in from, every single person's unique. So I think sometimes women who are like, I just really want to be an amazing mom, like stay-at-home mom, and have amazing, fulfilling relationships. I'm not really interested in like being on stages and making tons of money or whatever. So it's really getting to honor that that is just as amazing. And when it's in real alignment and truth with you, that's when you get to enjoy it even more, instead of trying to force yourself like, oh, I should be going in, whether it's the corporate job or even entrepreneurial stuff, where there's so much pressure on us to like to fulfill. And like you said, an economy where it's like it's really feeding into an economy that's broken, that feeds off of women feeling imperfect, and learning how to start investing in things like programs with you or myself, because we're both in coaching, but getting to invest in other women who are actually helping you shift that inner dialogue, rather than continuing to feed into almost like an abusive system, right? Where it's oppressive, it's abusive, it's racist, it's all of these things that keeps us oppressed. And it's really an act of rebellion in us playing big, like women being empowered, being in their finances, being in their pleasure is really an act of rebellion for us to play big. And I'd love to hear more, speaking with that, around what it's like and what your intention is in helping women live their legendary life, like what that means to you, what that looks like when you work with women and helping them really hone into that, and just sharing that, because I know that's a huge piece of your passion and heart and purpose.
Yeah. So what I'm really here for, like the women that I'm really here for, I'm here for all women, but the women that I'm especially here for are the women who know that they were meant for something more. And my question to those women usually is, why are you not moving forward towards your dreams? What you said about honoring where you're at, that's awesome. That's exactly like the thinking that we need to have. It doesn't matter if your dreams are to stay at home with your kids all day or to start a $1 billion empire. You do you. But if you're not moving in that direction, if you're feeling stuck, why are you feeling stuck? And usually there's a couple of reasons why. You either don't have clarity on what your dreams are and what you really want, or you have a lot of self-doubt that you could even have your dreams. They feel so far away. Or you're feeling insecure and don't trust yourself or have the tools to go get it. right? So we either don't trust ourselves, we don't have the tools, or we don't have clarity. So I meet women wherever they're at on that spectrum, and we start, digging and getting answers about why we're not moving towards our dreams. And really, I'm just resourceful, and I connect them to resources and networks to get them moving in that direction. When you have a network of women who all want what you want, you move towards your dreams so much faster. We have the nature, like who we are truly. We have to know our nature. And then we have the nurture environment, the environment that socializes us to be expressed as our true highest self. So I meet women at the point of possibility for where they want to go for their dreams, and we start working on their nature and their nurture. My programs are actually designed that way. We start like the first 6 weeks, really just finding out who you are, what is the nature of your highest being. And then the next 6 weeks are all about integrating into sisterhood, into relationships, into sex, money, pleasure, right? And really, to me, what a legendary life looks like is living your legend, which is your story, owning all parts of your story. And instead of being a victim to your story or any part of it, really being empowered by your story. It makes a difference how you tell your story to yourself. And I think that you don't have to share every single part of your story with the world. I mean, I think that's what a lot of women that I work with start to get afraid of, that, oh no, I'm going to learn my story and I'm going to have to share everything. No, again, on your terms. If you don't want the whole world to know that you have some sexual trauma or a history, you don't have to let the world know that. You don't have to be public about that. You can be private, but you do need to get to the point where you own that story, you go through the healing process, you forgive yourself, and you forgive others. Again, that doesn't make anything that anybody does to you right, but you have to get to that point where you are in full ownership, taking 100% responsibility for every aspect of your story and what you do with it, what you choose to do with it, right? Because that's the difference between being empowered or staying a victim, is really getting to know yourself, love yourself, like you said, honor yourself, and integrating that into your life on your terms, your purpose, what really truly lights you up and turns you on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you said that too, about owning your story, because that is, I know for me personally, what I kind of was hiding for so long, because I didn't want to share that I had been abused in the past. I didn't want to call anyone in my family out for my truths of my experience of my childhood, and not wanting to hurt other people. And I think that's a huge piece for a lot of women, because women naturally are so, much more cautious and compassionate about hurting others, and to the point where it's sacrificing our own story in order to really step into that. That's something that one of my mentors, Martha Beck, when I was training with her, I asked her about this, and it was before I went public with my story and my abuse. And when she wrote one of her first books about having her son, who's autistic, I believe he's autistic. She talks about how she was at Harvard, and when she went in for testing around her pregnancy, the doctors were like, he's going to be born. Oh, excuse me. He has Down syndrome. And they were like, he's going to be born with Down syndrome, so we suggest that you have an abortion. And she decided not to. And basically all of her peers at Harvard were disgusted with the fact that she was having a Down syndrome child, because in Harvard it's your mind is everything, being able in that way. So they couldn't understand the value of her to be son's life, because he was already diagnosed with Down syndrome. So when she decided, she cut off all ties there and decided to move back home. She's from Utah, and she had a ton of religious and sexual abuse and all these different things that happened to her. And when she came out about all of that, she would get death threats from people in the community, was cut out of her family and her religious community because of what she said. But when I was talking with her about this, I was like, I don't want to hurt anyone in, sharing my story. And she was like, there's a point in which, when is your truth going to be truth enough for you to share it with the world, regardless of how people are going to react to it, what they're going to think of you, because it's your truth. And I think that's such a, like, in what you help women with, is really getting to honor and tell their truth to themselves, to the people they're in community with, to their family. And that is really playing the bigger game and living the legendary life of, like, how can I keep coming back to my own truth, my own integrity, and getting into this place where it then just aligns in to all the other areas of your life. Because that's really, like, when I hear you speaking about this, like, what comes up for me is getting to just be fully expressed, fully you, and letting everything else on the outside match up. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that's so important.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's important to remember, when you're talking about truth, it's not just the big scary truths. It could be the little truths, like, I'm not happy in my job. I mean, sometimes it's big too, like, I'm not happy in my marriage, right? And I think what we have to understand to really get in ownership of our truth, we have to look at what a lie is. Like, what's a lie, right? Omission or denial or lying to yourself. Lying, essentially, is a shitty way to solve a problem, right? So if you're at your job and you're not happy, we could either be in denial or lie to ourselves that it's fine, because we're trying to solve the problem of, oh, I don't want to do the work to figure out what I need to be happy. I don't want to do the work to change jobs. I don't want to disrupt the system. And there's a lot of work that goes into playing big, not just on yourself, but on your relationships. One thing that I work with women around when going for life on their terms, no, you don't have to quit your job today and, like, revamp everything. It can be a gradual process. But people are not going to be totally ecstatic that you're making these moves, because they understand you and identify you as one person. And when that starts to change, a couple of things happen. One, you highlight things in other people that maybe they want for themselves that they don't have the courage to go for. Two, they start to be concerned that they're not going to be able to relate to you, that they won't know you anymore. Or that three, they're going to lose you. Because when people grow and change, we shed things. We shed our skin. We shed our social circles. We grow out of certain relationships. And when you have relationships that you do want to maintain, you need to up your game, play a bigger game when it comes to interpersonal skills. So you really have to polish your ability to have crucial conversations with people in order to maintain the relationships that you do want to keep. Because you can say, hey, look, I am telling the truth. Say, for example, I'm not happy in this marriage, but the truth is I want to stay in it and I want to work on it, right? That takes courage. That takes a lot of courage, because you're afraid if you rock the boat, the relationship is not going to hold up. But you have to do the work to have the crucial conversation to make your intentions very clear. I know we can do better. I know I want tools to do better. And it would really make me happy if you were interested in the same. So in addition to working with women around, like, creating this idea of what a bigger life, a legendary life on their terms that they love looks like, we're also equipping them with tools to have these conversations. Because you don't have to destroy everything. It is true. I've learned that creation, whether it's creating your life or creating a bigger life, creation does not come without destruction, right? We're always going to have some destruction, but you get to choose how much you want to destroy in that process. And sometimes it's not even about destruction. It's about, does this serve me and who I want to become and how I want to live my life, or does it not serve me? every day asking the question, does this bring me pleasure? Does this serve me? Does this bring me pleasure? Does this serve me? Right? So I think it's important to understand, like with playing big, like you said, that there are going to be big shifts. There are going to be big changes. They can come gradually. And if you have the tools and insight, you know how to navigate that with grace. And that's a big part of what I do with women, is giving them the tools so they can navigate that with grace.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important, learning how to like have your yeses be yes and your nos be no, and getting to learn how to communicate that is so essential in all areas of our life, with ourselves, being our word, and, you know, in work and intimacy and all of that. And I'm curious too, because you tend to work with women who are like either entrepreneurs or CEO, or like women that are in corporate wanting to leave corporate potentially to like do their own thing. And because I know there's a lot of women in my community that are in that space, what can you say to the ones that have the big vision? They know that they like the job they're in is like soul crushing, but they're comfortable in, you know, the money, the like consistency, the things that they have going on. And they're maybe just like a little bit too afraid to take the like next step towards um, creating a plan for themselves, of like an action plan. What would you recommend to the ones that are like, they know like they're done, they're like feeling, you know, it's like everything on paper looks good, but I feel like shit, like they're in that place. Obviously, like I would send them your way. I would recommend them to you. But what is like a one little like baby step thing that they could do to really help them come back into their own power? Because I feel like this is when women give away their power, right? They're like, oh, I can't quit this job, or I don't know what's going to happen. You know, it's like this place where they don't feel like they have a choice. And I'd love to, like, in playing big and living a legendary life, like one thing that you would recommend that they do for like a baby step to move them on their way.
Yeah, just remind yourself that you always have a choice. We feel like we don't. We get caught in these systems, boxes, little prisons we put ourselves in, and we forget that we have a choice. Oh, I can't. I don't have a choice because I'm a single mom. I don't have a choice because the money's so good, and you know, now all my bills are reflective of that. You know, you always have a choice. And if you choose bigger for yourself, if you choose to be genuinely happy, if you choose a life of purpose, what I talk to women about and teach them about is like really what we're doing in the Legend course and the work that I do with living a legendary life is, you know, the path of the hero, the hero's journey, right? We have all been unknowingly training for what we're meant to do our entire lives. Your current job, your current skill set, past skill sets, past qualifications are all building up so you can be the highest version of yourself. There's nothing that I'm not using now that I've learned in the past. And there are some women who the pain of not being fully expressed and who they truly are becomes more painful than staying where they are. And honestly, you just have to get to that point. Now, I'm not saying like jump off the ledge yet, right? Wherever you're at right now, if you want to leave your job, like say if you're in corporate and you've been at where you are for 10 years, and I've worked with women in corporate that want to leave corporate and start their own jobs. If you want to leave, there's so many options for you, but you're probably just not aware of it because you haven't been thinking like this yet. Like you can ask for an extended leave of absence for 30 days and decide what you want to do in that window. You can develop a plan where you acquire the skills if you want to start your own business to get ready to leave. What you go to next, if it's intentional, in your purpose, and turns you on, is going to be your life's work, which means it unfolds over the course of a lifetime. So it's not going to happen overnight. Lean into it. It's your life's work, right? So if I had to offer one thing right now, I would say, know that you are not stuck. There's always an option. And if you choose something different, you can get started on it now and just come to know yourself more, come to develop a plan, and you can implement it over time. It doesn't have to be this big, scary Band-Aid rip that people think it's going to be. You know, that happened with me because of my learning disability. I couldn't be accommodated at my corporate job, and I had the decision whether I wanted to fight it legally or go out on my own. And I had to do that abrupt jump because at the time I did have options, but they were kind of limited. And I don't recommend it because I didn't have runway. I didn't have the support that I fully needed at the time. So if this is an idea you're flirting with, like, you're not stuck, you get to make your choices. And if you choose different, that this is a learned skill. Like, I have courses, Nicole has services, like, people can teach you this. You are not stuck if you don't want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think women just need to like remember. It's like, you are not a victim. You are a powerful, badass goddess. Like, you get to choose. And it's getting into that resourcefulness, and that is playing big. And that is what leads us to living a legendary life. So with that being said, I would love for you to share what you have going on right now in terms of courses or one-to-one or trainings or anything that, and I'll post in the comments below too, where people can connect with you and get into your world. But I'd love to hear from you, like what you got going on and what you want to share.
Oh my gosh. So right now I have a free confidence masterclass, which is awesome. So if you're that person that Nicole was talking about, where you're not really trusting yourself, not really sure where to start, the free confidence masterclass is a really good place to start because it gets you in touch with your intuition, gets you in touch with like trusting yourself a little bit more. And I don't normally offer this for free. This class is normally $167, and it's basically like the video training and the journal prompts from my bigger course, the Legend course. So the Legend course is a 12-week transformative journey in sisterhood with like-minded women who also want to play big, where we go through all the milestones of really shaping life on your terms in all the areas. So mindset, authenticity, confidence, purpose, abundance, pleasure, sex, relationships, sisterhood. So like, it really, when I say life on your terms in all the areas, I mean like in all the areas. And the Legend course also has guest experts, so content from other guest experts that give you special discounts if you want to continue on your journey with them. Because again, like, my values are collaboration and sisterhood. I'd love for you to stay with me your whole journey to playing big, but you might need other resources. And this is like, the Legend course is a great course to come into if you're really overwhelmed and don't know where to go, because it will point you in the right direction. It will get you plugged into the right networks, and it will give you the tools for the journey to play big. So if you sign up for the free confidence masterclass, not only do you get that $167 value for free, but you get a coupon code that's only given to Confidence Masterclass members, where you get $222 off of the Legend course. And right now, the Legend course is the only way to work with me. I don't do one-to-one coaching unless you've been through some of my programs, and then we could discuss what that relationship would look like. And I only do the Legend course 3 times a year. So I'm doing it right now, and then I'm not going to do it again until, I don't know, sometime in 2021.
Sometime next year.
Yeah. I like to keep it simple. I am working on other things as an entrepreneur, but this is my main thing. I love working with women. I love seeing them launch. I mean, some of the most heart-filling, heartwarming results that I've seen from women in my course are leaving corporate, starting their own purpose-driven work, or getting promotions in companies that have more values that are aligned with them, because they know what their values are now, so they know what to look for, and they get to be picky because they also understand their worth, right? And then women mending relationships with their husbands, their wives, their mothers, oh my gosh, watching women mend their relationships with their mothers is just one of my favorite things that come out of this course, because we all have so much packed into our motherhood wounds and our sisterhood wounds. And with the Legend course, what I do is I set you up so you have tools to call the other women in the Legend course for the long term. So even though the course is over, you still have the free community and you have tools to reach out to each other when something has like an emotional charge on it while you're going through this. Oh yeah, that's another thing we teach in the course is emotional mastery, which is huge, because sometimes you feel like you can't hold it all. There's so much going on, and that influences your decisions, right? And like, we want you to have emotional mastery to be able to keep in your line of sight really your dreams, your goals, what you want to go for. So yeah, again, the Confidence Masterclass is for free. I can give you that link. The Legend course this round is going to be starting soon in the next couple of weeks. I don't have a lot of spots open. Yeah, so you could I'll give you all the information for that. And I think we have like 63 women who are in the Confidence Masterclass right now. And for the Legend course, we also do group coaching calls weekly. So once a week, we do group coaching calls to digest anything that we've learned, anything that's coming up for you. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, we'll get those links in the comments below so that you can have access to those. And Kate, I just want to thank you again so much for sharing your wisdom and expertise and passion with my community. And thank you for being on today.
And thank you for having me and for the work that you do. It's so important that we have more women like following their purpose and operating from a place of pleasure and integrity and in alignment with their values. And I'm really so grateful that I know you and I get to do this work with you and collaborate with you.
Same. All right.